I think after moving across the globe, it was like, I don't need to ask anymore. This is just what I have to do. And I think it all goes back to like making that just a huge decision and feeling like the whole world is against you. Everybody was very supportive, but it was just like an uphill battle to get to where I am now. And instead of being like, you get stuck in the why and you can move forward with the like, what am I supposed to be getting from this?
Hey there, welcome to hashtag Actually I Can. This is a podcast where us female entrepreneurs are going to ditch the hustle culture, build value-based aligned businesses, and finally charge what we're worth. I'm Katie Ripp, a serial entrepreneur, business mentor, rule breaker, and your go-to guide for building a profitable business on your own terms. Around here, we do things differently. No hustle for hustle's sake, no playing small, and definitely no more following antiquated business rules that, clearly were not made with midlife women in mind. Each week, I'm here to ask the hard questions, share the advice that's actually worked for me, and bring on a guest or two who decided to say, fuck it, actually I can do this my way. Expect bite-sized, high-impact episodes ranging from about 25 to 45 minutes, packed with real strategies, mindset shifts, and rule-breaking business insights. If you are tired of business feeling like an endless to-do list, and you're ready to make more money without burning out and feeling guilty, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's go. Okay. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
Welcome from Australia. This is so exciting. I am in this small little area in Wisconsin, United States, and Zoom has made it like so possible to open up my mind to the world.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm still in like these little pockets, but I'm not like a world traveler. So it's so cool to talk to people from other countries on here. Yeah. So welcome. It's 6:30 in the morning where you are. It's 1:35 p.m. the day before. So I think that's also fascinating.
Yeah. Living a little bit in the future. It's great over here on Friday. So it's great.
Well, welcome to hashtag Actually I Can. I'm so excited to have you. You've got a really cool story about not only leaving corporate, but also moving across many oceans. So I'm going to let you get into it. I would love to just hear your story. These are exactly the kind of people like, hey, I just said fuck it and did it.
Yes.
Not without some worry, I'm sure, but I would just love to hear your story, how you got there, how you got to where you are. And please tell us where you are in your business. So amazing. I'll let you take it away and I'll ask you questions if I have them.
Okay. Amazing. Like you said, my name is Claire. I moved to Australia in 2019 and I've lived in Sydney the whole time. I visited with my then boyfriend in 2018 just to get familiar with it for Christmas and meet his family. And this was when I went, it was so comfortable. I knew if I ever had to move, I could make the move if I needed to. And then a year later, well, it was like 6 months later, actually, my then boyfriend at the time, now he's my husband, he was like, I'm going back. And I had already finished school. I was in a kind of a dead end job. I loved my job at the time, but there just wasn't any growth there. I was already working from home. So I was already pretty familiar with what that would look like. And so I just, like you said, I just said, fuck it and told my family, this is what I'm doing.
How did they?
Yeah, we were on a family vacation at the time. And Blake, my husband, called me and was like, hey, we're making the decision. He was there visiting his family it's our summer, their winter. So it was like the middle of winter. Yeah. So he was there in June, like on our summer vacation, but he was there when it was winter. And they had a conversation as a family over there. We met in college and he kind of same thing as me actually was playing soccer for the college that we both went to. And it was not going the way that he thought it would. They brought in a new coach. There was a lot of political change and stuff going on. So they just decided it was best for him to go back to Australia. And that was kind of a non-discussion. They just said, you're coming back. And so he said, I'm going back. He always tells me, I never wanted to force you or pressure you into making that decision. But to me, it was just like, why would I not?
You're coming with me.
Yeah, I don't understand. We had only been dating for a year at that point, and I just kind of knew there was just no other decision for me. So we were staying in like a cabin because it was June, July. And just told them like, okay, I'm officially going to be moving. I don't know when yet. We need to sit down as a family and have that conversation, but I'm moving. That was in June. I ended up moving in December.
To Australia.
Yes, I think they always knew when I was like applying for colleges. I applied for colleges in Italy. I applied for colleges all over the
Okay.
States. Like I had always had a little bit of that desire to live elsewhere. There's nothing wrong with California. I love it. I just love traveling. I went to Europe when I was 16. I played soccer there, and I just kind of loved that experience and being immersed in different cultures. So being able to visit Australia in 2018, and there was just like, maybe I could move here eventually. I really was like, this is for me. And when you date somebody internationally global, there is that conversation very early on like, well, one of us is going to have to relocate. So
Yeah.
I always kind of knew it was going to be me. I graduated college early. I had already been working from home. I already had a couple VA clients. So I was already kind of set on my own. And so when he told me and made that decision, it was just kind of a no brainer. And that's what the whole process was very easy. Like, yes, I was worried. I think I was
Mhm.
more worried about the social aspect on like, I moved when I was 21. I felt like I was pretty solid in my career. I had my degree. That doesn't mean shit in Australia. Like it is completely different. And I was like, I'm starting over again with friends, with like getting to know
Mhm.
a new family, with my job, with like, if I wanted, I was actually enrolled in a master's program that I had to drop out of. And so there was a lot of those hard decisions, but I regret none of it. It all kind of led me
Yeah.
to where I am now. So yeah, that is about me. That's how I got here.
There's something to be said about being with a guy, right? Like
Yes.
you went
Yeah.
for the guy and the guy
It
was
is
still
kind of
there.
embarrassing. I can't lie. To be
No,
like,
it's
oh, it's my
not.
boyfriend. I'm following. I'm like chasing this man across the globe. But there
I
was
mean,
just something
fine.
about him. Like when we matched on Bumble, and I like to say I hunted him down. I was only talking to like people that were not from California, that were blonde hair, blue eyes, and were athletic. And he's blonde hair, blue eyes, plays soccer from Australia. It was like the perfect match.
I
So
mean, like it's not like you followed a guy and got dumped. You followed a guy and
yes.
got married. So,
Yes, we had a couple of those conversations that were kind of uncomfortable in the beginning to be like,
mhm.
you actually like me, right? Like, I'm not going to move and then you're going to change your mind.
Yeah, because
So,
that is a real fear. My husband and I bought a house together before we got engaged. And that was kind of like, I mean, we're sort of signing a big piece of paper here. Is this coming, or is this like a thing,
yes,
or what does this
it
look
was,
like?
yes, it was definitely one of those like, we're going to get married and this is going to be forever because I don't know if I could handle it if it wasn't. So,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
amazing. How did your family take it?
My mom kind of knew.
Okay.
After I had visited in 2018, I just loved the culture here. It was everybody speaks English. They use a dollar. It's like very comfortable. Public
Hmm.
transit over here is amazing. So it's very easy for me. Now I drive, but 5 years ago when I moved, I didn't. So I knew that if I moved, I wasn't going to be stuck. And that was
Yeah.
very important to my mom, that I had a good support system here and that I could get around easily and explore and live my life. Of course, I moved and then COVID hit. So we didn't do a lot of anything. So it was like just divine timing. The whole thing just ended up working perfectly because I had graduated. I had switched jobs to work fully from home. I had two clients that I was working with that decided to work with me exclusively instead of working with other people. And so there was no roadblock. And I think she knew that. She had a conversation with my husband about it. My husband I was very proud of him. Kind of like when you ask for your father's hand in marriage, he asked my mom, like, I know she's already made the decision, but are you going to be okay with this? And I think she
Oh,
really appreciated that. They have a really nice relationship. So, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let's talk about COVID. I don't like to talk about COVID. Nobody likes to
Yes.
talk about COVID. I don't love it. It feels like it was yesterday and also feels like it was 40 years ago.
Well, it feels like a trigger word when I said it. I was like, ugh.
Ugh, I know, right? Like nobody really wants to talk about, but I will say, just like I said when you came on here, Zoom didn't really exist before COVID. And so the fact that I got my coaching certification on Zoom and met people from all over the world, we would not have this opportunity to talk at 6:30 in the morning and 1:30 in the afternoon. Would we have had the opportunity? Sure. Would it have been as easy, or people would have opened their minds to that? I'm not sure. I don't think so, because we weren't doing it before. So I really feel like, for me personally too, there were so many silver linings of COVID.
Yeah.
If we can stop looking at it, it's like a trigger word, which it was. I owned small businesses. It was a very rough year. My kids were homeschooled, all of those things that make it triggering. There are also so many beautiful things that came out of it. One of them for me is how I communicate with the world now. Tell me about that for you.
Yeah. It was the only thing that really gave me hesitation, because I moved in December 2019 and then things were starting to shut down. And that was just another conversation. My dad's always worked from home, so that piece of it was fine. I was very familiar with what that looked like, and I was already working from home. So for me, it was not a problem. Being in Australia, they never worked from home. So when I'm interviewing and I'm telling them oh, I've worked from home, they're like, so you haven't actually been working? And it's no, I've been working from home. It was just so weird to walk into interviews. I already had a lot of restrictions with my visa and getting a job. So then when I was telling them, I work from home, the calls that I got after COVID hit, they're like, so you've worked from home? And I was, yeah, I told you that I did.
Yeah,
I have
remember.
experience of this. So that part of it was very easy. It was just the move and another conversation with having to call my dad and my mom and be like, okay, they're closing borders. I am here. I don't know when I'm coming back. I had a ticket. The goal was to go back every 6 months. And that kind of made it easier for everybody
to digest.
Yeah. And my 6-month ticket, we just had to, thankfully, the flight that I had booked, they gave us points for it, but we had to cancel it. We officially shut down March, because I remember celebrating my birthday at home and I couldn't see anyone. We just FaceTimed everybody. And thank God for FaceTime. And, I was still able to call everybody every day. I call my mom multiple times a day. Even now, I call my dad as much as I can. So it really took the harsh out of the blow, I think, when that was the only thing that we kind of sat down and we were like, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. At that time, I couldn't get a job. I was there for a couple months. I had interviewed multiple places. I could not get a job. And then with COVID coming in and I'm not working, my husband was working in retail at the time. We just felt like we were in between a rock and a hard place of well, shit, what are we going to do? The COVID restrictions in Australia were very different. And so it was you couldn't leave your zip code basically, and you couldn't just go for a drive or go outside of where you were. They were really strict about it. And so it was very different to kind of what we were seeing happen in the States. And we were also one of the last countries, I think, to kind of go through lockdown because it was so protected. But yeah, my Grammy ended up passing away the month that I was meant to fly back and land, on that day. She passed away on that day. And so it's hard to process that and not be there. And then it's even worse to be I could have been there. And I have to just, she knew I was here. She was very proud of me. And that's kind of what I have to hold and just know that everything worked out. But it really lit a flame underneath me to just make it worth it. If I could not come back and be with my family and I needed to almost prove, in a way, I don't have to prove anything, but I wanted to make it worth it that I made this decision. So
that's such an interesting thought process, because I think that there's there's certainly so much of that happened in COVID, right? Where we lost people and they didn't get honored the way they should have, or we didn't get to be there for the closure and that kind of thing. But to really take that pain and sort of make your purpose out of it. I made this decision to be here. I'm not going to wallow in it. It's unfortunate I missed that, but I'm going to make this worth it, because otherwise, what is there?
Yeah.
Then you just missed it. Then it's just something that you could really, and at the time could have really gone into a dark hole, I'm sure.
I think I was just in this place of being well, I was just like applying for jobs. I had taken two clients with me when I moved, but they were just like at that time, I was still navigating the time change. So we were only working together like maybe 3 to 5 hours a month. It really was not a lot of time. It really wasn't enough to pay me to like move out
Sure.
on our own or to really get started on anything or make the decision like, this is what I'm going to do. I was working from home before, but I loved the corporate scenery, the corporate industry in Australia. It's very different from America. And I wanted to try again. And so I applied for over 110 jobs. I interviewed over 15 times. Like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
was really hustling. And like looking back, it wasn't, I got a lot of temporary jobs. So I'd be up at 6 a.m. and they would always tell you, like, you need to be ready by 8 a.m. because we can call you and need somebody to fill in any office in Sydney. So I had to know my way around. My husband like practiced taking the train with me and like showed me how to like get on and off. And he's always been super good about that because I get really lost. I still get lost. So it was just
And
like
when
a
you
lot.
say it, what kind of jobs were you looking for? Now, like, were these like corporate assistants? Because
Yes.
you're a VA now, but like, was that like and in your bio, which I love so much, you were like Donna from Mad Men. I love Donna. Who doesn't love Donna?
And that's kind of like what I wanted to be in my head, like that go-to power woman in the office. But I think I always had myself being like an assistant. And I like always had myself like serving someone else. I never really saw myself doing my own thing. Even as a VA, I'm like, well, I serve my client, like I work for them. And the two clients I took, I was employees for them. So it was very different from what I do now. And I was applying for, my background is in like office management. So I'm applying for office manager roles. They're not looking at my American experience as like experience. They're like, it's completely different. You don't have any management experience in Australia working with a different culture and different people, which is so fair. And that was a huge roadblock. And then I started applying for more receptionist roles. But then I was too advanced for a receptionist role because I had 7 years already of corporate experience. And then if it wasn't one or the other, my visa, I was on a working holiday at the time while my partnership was processing. And I could only work somewhere for 6 months. So a lot of these roles, they don't want somebody for 6 months. They want somebody ongoing. Even the contract roles were like contract to permanent. And so it was very hard to, I registered with a bunch of recruiting agencies. I worked for a recruiting agency. I still support a recruiting agency. I heavily believe in them and was like, I'm just going to get registered. I was registering before I left. I was already kind of talking to people when I was still living in the States on like, this is what the plan is. If anybody ever has a thought of moving to another country long term, I would recommend doing that very early, having those conversations with recruiting agencies or possible firms or starting to apply before you move, especially if you already have a plane ticket or plans. It just makes it so much easier when you land and to like navigate those expectations.
Yeah, just a like connection.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to get here and immediately land a role, but I didn't think it was going to be like a year before I really started working again. And of course, like COVID didn't really help because everything like working from home wasn't really an option unless you had already been working for that company. So we were very limited in like what we could do. So I ended up having to file for unemployment for a couple months while we kind of figured out what we were going to do. COVID rates on apartments were great, so we were able to move out. And it was like a little 1 bedroom and a study. And that's my husband's like, that study is your space to figure out like what you're going to do. I was writing a blog at the time, like a food blog, and he was like, use that space and figure it out. And that's kind of what I did. So thankfully, one of my clients that I had really saw my potential in me, and she offered to pay for this program, this like VA training program. And I didn't think anything of it, but it was just, we had a call and I just was in tears on like, I cannot keep applying for jobs. I cannot keep interviewing and showing up and nothing is working out. And it's never like you're not qualified. It was always like, well, your visa is restricting you from doing this, or we think you'd be a good long-term fit, not just a short term. And it's like, this is out of my control. So yeah, she changed my life.
Yeah, sort of silver lining.
Yes. Yeah. I think I wouldn't have taken the initiative to do anything like I'm doing now if I didn't go through that process.
Yeah. Also the like process of vulnerability and tears with someone that like recognizes that it's okay to be that way and let me help you. Like, I want to help you. I can see your potential. Maybe you can't see it right now, but let's move this way instead. And sometimes sometimes tears do that.
Yes.
I'm a crier. I'm always crying. Like I have a coach. I have a coaching business, and I do a lot of small business mentoring, and people come into my office and they're like, why are there Kleenex on your table? And I was like, because you're going to cry. Like, sorry, you're going to cry.
Yeah. I have lots of feelings. And I think at that point, I was just like, I don't know what to do. I'm embarrassed. I'm on unemployment. I'm embarrassed that I made this move and nothing is working out. And I feel like I'm not doing right by my family. And I was just like holding a lot of shame and just a lot of frustration. And I think she could see that and was like, look, I saw this course. One of her other coach friends had gone through it with their VA. And she's like, I think that this could be worth your time. And she even said like, it'd be so funny if it ended up working out and we could have this like memory, and like, here we are.
And here we are. So tell me, you have mentioned a couple of times that you brought some clients with you overseas, sort of, you know, like obviously virtually. You were already sort of like dipping your toe in that.
Yes. I was a virtual job manager for a recruiting firm. So it was really just like a fancy title for online office manager, which is what I do now. And I love it. And I didn't know at the time that I was going to love it. And so it really, working online that first time, eliminated any sort of barrier that I had because I'm younger. And I think people obviously kind of knew that no matter how badly I was like, I'm a professional. Like, I was young.
When you are young, you're just young.
I was just, I had a lot to learn. And it was just nice meeting online. We just did like a phone call so they couldn't see me. I, ended up getting the role very quickly and working from home. I do remember the first time we did a video chat, they were like, oh, you're younger than we thought. And I was like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
A lot.
I got it.
But it just eliminated any of that. Like, it's hard showing up every day and being like, oh, these people think I'm a child. Like, they think I'm a kid. Yeah. They treat me that way. Some people talk to me that way. And so going online just eliminated that like fear almost to where I could really get the most out of it. So I was already working for a VA agency when I got that full-time virtual role. I don't even think it's around anymore, so I'm not going to name it, but I was getting like $5 an hour, and it was not up to par with like regular working standards. And they would just give you a client. They'd be like, hey, this person just signed up. This is yours. Like, get to know them, whatever. It was I think it really shaped my standard of work with new clients because I hated the way that they ran their business and thought it was so unorganized. And I was being matched with people, like not even matched. I was just like being placed with people that needed help that I didn't know how to help them, not even beyond. It was like some things were coding or some things were website building, and those were things I didn't know yet. And so it was like a lot of very weird, I don't know why they did what they did.
Well, and it also just sets everybody up for failure.
Yes. I just like looking back, I'm like, it was obviously a very new concept because it was ran in the States. We had heard of like overseas support, and it was just way different than what we were doing. We were kind of trying to replace that office feel in this agency, but it was just not done in a very efficient way. So the two clients I worked with had been like passed around from person to person because of that. Because if it doesn't work out with one, they kind of are like, oh, well, let's fix it and give you to somebody else. And so you kind of just this like weird never ending cycle. And then when we got matched,
I unfortunately just went through this. I was with a VA company. I was like, hey, I'll just dip my toe in this. I think I told you, like, I didn't even know what a VA was 6 months ago, which is horrible. But in any case, now that I know, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But I went to a company, super good recommendation, amazing, but they subcontract their VAs, had a good fit, went through all the SOP, went through all of like the planning, ghosted. Got an email so-and-so has left the company. We're matching you with a new person. Are really excited about this new person. Fine. Have to go through the entire thing again. Now I'm paying by the month. I'm on the second month of my payment. Go through this all again with another person. Super excited. Ghosted. Sorry, this person has left the company. We're going to do our very best. I was like, yeah, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I had already spent $1,400 and like no offer to refund me, no nothing. And I was like, yep, thank you.
I am so sorry you had that experience. That is like, I hear it all the time.
It's such a good learning experience though, because for me, it was like, I can't put all the blame on them. I also wasn't ready. I didn't know what to expect. So I didn't know. My biggest fear about that was, what am I going to have these people do? Like, what do I really need? And I realized that some of the stuff I need now is a different skill set than what I was looking for. So, we learn things as we fail.
Yes. That sounds exactly like what it was. When I finally got with the two people that I ended up taking, they were like, oh, this is actually a good fit. So then it was just rough, like a couple months later when I was like, hey, I'm leaving the company.
Bye.
They were just like, you know what? We don't want to be passed around again. Like they were willing to leave the agency they were working for. We like looked at all the contracts and I was like, well, it doesn't say that I can't, do that.
Yep.
So made sure we were all protected. Nobody was going to get in trouble. And then was very clear about like, I don't know what the working hours look like. I have no idea what it's going to look like when I get there. Ultimately, I worked nights at first, and then it was just not sustainable to work nights the busier that I got. So now I've like worked a schedule out, but at the time I was working nights. It was terrible. But yeah, you definitely had the trial and error. I've like taken clients that we notice it on the service provider side of being like, oh, this person doesn't know what they need help with. Like we can tell if somebody's like, okay, we kind of have to guide them a little bit. But as somebody that is maybe only a VA or doesn't have a lot of experience, they wouldn't know kind of how to guide that in the right direction. So after having that experience, one of the things that I kind of pride myself on being like, okay, immediately you're kind of all over the place. How can we kind of streamline this, give you some clarity, give you some point of direction and guidance so that you know what you need help with and how we can help you with those things. So yeah, it's just through kind of learning.
Hey guys, I'm all about building businesses that feel aligned and abundant and fun. And here's the thing, you do not have to do this alone. It's why I created Actually We Can. This is an online community built just for the midlife women entrepreneurs who are ready to grow without the grind. And let me tell you, this isn't just another business group. This isn't just another Facebook group. I'm in there with you every step of the way. We've got the challenge lab to push you out of your comfort zone and keep you moving forward, but we've also got the resource vault that's going to be packed with tools and templates you can actually use, and then live Q&A sessions with yours truly, where we get real, talk strategy, and keep it 100% authentic and honest. This is the community I wish I had when I started my businesses, and I'm in it with you. No fluff, no fake support, just real connections and coaching that actually make a difference. And the best part? You can check it all out with a 7-day free trial. You can cancel anytime. No strings, just the support you've always been craving. So if you're ready to stop doing it alone and start thriving, come join us inside Actually We Can. Head over to katieripp.com/community and grab your free trial today. I'll see you inside. Well, first of all, you have your own business now.
Yes.
Claire French and Company, right? So I'm out on your website and I'm like, what is this Clarity? It's your name with a TY.
Yes.
It's the cutest marketing I've ever seen. I love it so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I think at the core of what I wanted to do and through my corporate experience, what I realized is that people have a lot of good ideas. They just like don't know how to execute or implement. And it is so hard to watch.
Nobody can see me right now, but I'm like dancing around because this is my life. I have thousands of really good ideas actually, and no implementation skills.
Yes. It is hard to be both a visionary and like the implementer and the action taker.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I can see a vision, but I get distracted with the details. I like taking action. I like the pieces of like the getting it done. I cannot tell you how many recipes I've started being like, I'm going to make a cake, and then completely like get sidetracked or like forget to do things along the way. And I'm like, yeah, I'm making a cake. Like I am definitely the action taker person that kind of helps implement those things. And I just always loved playing that role, especially in corporate. I'd be like, I have this new system or I have this new way of doing things. And corporate, of course, was like, well, we've always done it this way. So this is the way it'll be. And that was an immediate, like, I don't work with clients that are like that. I don't run my business that way. I like to constantly be learning new things or kind of asking for feedback or figuring out how we can make it better. And so knowing that clarity, also my name being Claire, I was just like, I have to somehow play that together. And I don't know how it came to be. I think I just like wrote it out and was like, that's cute. We'll stick with that. And then it ended up being like 5 years now. I've had that business, all the same offers, never changed. So yeah.
I love it. So you had a little bit of an entrepreneurial itch, right? And then sort of you got there, it did like a whole bunch of things didn't work. What really made you take the leap? Because it is a leap. Especially in a foreign country, right? Like, had you already had your business? Like, had you already had an LLC and that sort of thing? No, or did you have to do that in Australia?
So I technically kind of run two businesses because I'm registered in California, like in the States and here in Australia. And I do taxes in both, which isn't, that's like the not so fun side of being an entrepreneur is like navigating taxes in two countries. And well, even in one country, that's the not so fun part of being an entrepreneur. So,
unless you think it's going somewhere good, which.
So I joined this VA program and they gave you leads and it was kind of up to you to close them. Instead of being like, this is who you're working with, they would be like, hey, this person reached out. They're looking for someone. If you think you're a match, like reach out and we'll connect you. And so that was from the start, such a great way to learn. Like I'd be getting on calls with people and like learning my sales process and like not even like to me, it's not a sale. It's like a relationship, like that relationship building on like, yes, of course I want them to work with me if they're a good match. But by the time somebody's reaching out for a VA, they already know that they need help. It's just my job to see if I'm the right person to give that to them. And so reaching out and being like, what do you need? How can we help you? Or can we bring a little bit of clarity in? And I very quickly booked out in my first like week of doing that. I was on unemployment and then immediately had to like, I didn't need it anymore. I was making 5K months in my first month of doing it and just like told my husband, like, I can do this. Like I've done this once. I can keep doing this again and again. So even in that first month, my husband's like, great. So you're going to work from home now. And this is what you do. And he was always been just like such a strong supporter. Like he'll have questions. He'll like need a little, like be realistic about this. But when he knows it works, like he's just behind me 100%. Like even that first month, like we got a dog because I was like, well, I'm never going back into office. So I can like stay at home with a dog now. And like, and we did. And
amazing.
It was like in that first like 3 weeks of doing that, I was like, I can do this. And that initial feeling the first time you do something for yourself is just like, you have to keep chasing it. Like you have to keep figuring it out. And I think Maria Figueroa, she says like everything is figure outable. And it's just like something that I live by because it's just like being met with so much. It's not even like bad experience. It's just like new experiences that I had to navigate and I wasn't familiar with. And I had very different expectations when I moved. And like, you know, I thought I was just going to get a corporate job.
Yeah. It makes you very resourceful. Which is
so like, important as an entrepreneur.
If you don't have a resourceful bone in your body, I don't think you can become an entrepreneur. There's just too many things you have to figure out on your own. Yes, you can go and learn about it, but your experience is so much different than the person next door. We all have the same, I think it's very true. We all have the same like underlying issues and there's lots of limiting beliefs and there's lots of challenges that come up for most of us, especially as women. It's different for women. It's just like, it's different for women. It's also especially different if you want a relationship or heart-led business, period.
Yes.
I mean, I run heart-led businesses. I coach heart-led people. I have no interest in coaching somebody who's only worried about the bottom line.
Yes.
I just like the bottom line will come. I promise if you care about what you're doing, the bottom line will always follow. Always, always.
So, yes. So in my business, we are a human first business. So like you said, kind of heart led, we're human first because we do a lot of like we do a lot of the not so pretty back end stuff that people don't see. And it isn't always client facing. You can't always see what's happening. And that's why it's so important to me that it is human first, because I want them to feel that we've thought about the things that feel good when you like remember a client's birthday, or you remember a client's anniversary, or you remember like big things that are happening and you are checking in on them, and you are just those little human first pieces is so, so important to me.
I heard something not too long ago. I think it was in a book or something, but it was like, when was the last time you were delighted? And I was like, delight your customer, like delight your client. When was the last time you were really delighted? And I thought to myself, like, what does delight mean? Right? Like it is the little things. Like we own a coffee shop. It's the note on the side of the, like, have a great Monday, you know, Tara or whatever. Yeah. There's so much you can do there that people don't think it's connected to ROI, and it's everything. Mm-hmm. It's everything. Now, can you put a tack on it and be like, oh, well, you made $5,000 because you put have a great Monday, Tara? No. But to me, it's everything. That's how I look at my bottom line is this is completely connected to me.
Yes.
Because it's sort of like nobody cares about the electric in your house when you're building a new house, but like, that's what turns the lights on.
Yeah.
Like, we got to have we got to pay the big money for the electric because it turns the lights on. So I am all with you. I love that. I love the human first. I hadn't necessarily heard it that way, but I love it.
Yeah, because I think people get lost on, especially as new business owners, and I've worked with a lot of people over the years, that they are just like, how much money can I make in what amount of time? And it's like, I just don't work with those people anymore because we're not aligned. They're looking for quick, they're looking for a hustle. And I do not believe in hustle, but I do believe in hard work. And so we look a lot at like intentional action and making sure that what we're doing is working, even if it's a lot of trial and error, if it's a lot of testing. It'll take time, but those kinds of things are sustainable and they're long-term. And it isn't just starting a business, making a ton of money, and then having to go back into work. It is, well, this is what you're going to do.
We have been sold a bullshit bag of goods online that all of a sudden you go from being on unemployment or, at a teaching job, and 3 months later you're making 6-figure money.
Yeah.
Also, what's 6-figure money? Like, there's a big difference between $100,000 and $999,000. Like, it's just I know it's so hard. We're like fighting against society and the man all the time. I totally get it. But also, I don't believe in hustle either. I just we're playing a long game here. I am not interested in a short game. I'm not interested in starting anything for a short game. I want my stuff to be legacy projects for my kids and legacy for the community and legacy stuff, not like, hey, how much money can I make as fast as possible so I can shut this business down?
Yeah.
Not interested.
Yeah. And I think you and I starting where we did, and even like me starting in 2018 with working online and having VA clients, that was before it was even like a thing. And then COVID hit, everybody went online and started these businesses. And in the last 2 years, I cannot tell you the amount of people that I've seen that have they got a new job and they're leaving the online space and they're no longer doing that anymore. And it really makes me think, like, if you were not forced to work it out in that moment, would they have even pursued that? And the answer is probably not. I think there's a piece of me. I was walking dogs before. I was doing extra jobs on the side. I was a VA. Even when I had my full-time corporate role, there's always been a piece of me there that I've loved that work, that I would have gotten there eventually. But it is kind of interesting to see the shift constantly of the entrepreneurial landscape over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and sort of the bullshit of it, right? Nobody makes, I'm not saying nobody makes that kind of money. They don't do it overnight. There is so much work. Yeah, there is so much work that goes into this. And if you look at the Jenna Kutchers of the world or the Amy Porterfields or the, whoever, they've been at it for years,
Yes.
years over and
Yes.
over and over, putting themselves out there and really trying to figure out this is working. This isn't working. I fucking failed 40 times and I'm going to try again. And it looks very enticing. It's a lot harder than people think it is because it's emotionally harder, right? You have to really love yourself.
Yes. And that's the navigation of figuring things out as you go while you're also trying to help people as a coach, as a service provider, as a VA. It is very emotionally draining to hold space for your clients and also for yourself. And it isn't, I had a great first month, the first month I ever started. A year later, it was the worst year I ever had. It was so slow. I had hired a team too quickly. I had to let people go. It was the worst feeling. I had to navigate burnout because I took on too much too fast and was exhausted. And it is trying to navigate those things and still be okay, well, I want to try again. And just because this one way that I tried it didn't work, I want to try it again in a different way and start over. And it's taken, 3 years now to kind of build back up from where I was that first year. And I think it is reminiscent of there was a lot of money to be made. There was a lot of success when it was brand new, but it wasn't about that. It was always been about sustainability and longevity and what you're building beyond just when it was easy, because it does get hard.
Yeah. Harder than we think.
Yes.
You had said team, right? You hired team and then had to let go. And then you are referring to we. So tell me, do you have employees? What does that look like for you? Because you must have started out by yourself.
Yes. Yeah. It was just me. And then I kind of realized I didn't want to work nights with a time difference. And so I switched my schedule. I work early mornings and I work some nights, but I never take calls after a certain time anymore. And I never take calls at 2 or 3 a.m. anymore. I've worked it out.
And you set some boundaries.
Yes. And realized very quickly I wanted to help more people, but couldn't do that if it was just me. So I hired a VA and then just got really swept up in this really big picture. I had a VA, a copywriter, and a graphic creator. And it was just too much. I had to focus on, I didn't know how I needed help. I was helping everybody get help, but I didn't know how I needed it. I realized I like doing some of the creation stuff. I like doing some of the VA stuff. So when business slowed down, I had to restart again and ultimately have always kept on admin support. So she is kind of like a tech VA. So she helps schedule emails. She helps schedule social media posts. She helps put the fine pieces into place while I do a lot of the big strategy. Now I've kind of shifted into more consulting, and then having a graphic content creator on my team is such an asset. So I have one on my team as well. We just met last night actually and was this feels so good. And they're all very excited. I'm excited. This is going to be a good year. So it was just.
Are you taking clients?
Yes. So we currently have room for VA and OBM clients. If you're looking for more consulting and strategy on an OBM side, we have availability for that. And we also do one-time strategy calls as well. So if you are listening and you feel like you have some questions and you don't need ongoing help, strategy session is a great place to start to kind of answer those questions, get the implementation support afterwards, and get the clarity that you need in 90 minutes.
Who's your favorite client? I mean, not you don't have to name names. I mean, more who's your ideal client? If you had a dream client, what does that person look like?
Yeah. So it's not really a person. It's more of we do a value-based matching with our clients and really look at who they are as a person, because we're people first in business. So making sure that number one, they're just good people, and also that they have a long-term vision, usually somebody that is considered a thought leader or wants to kind of shake things up in their industry. Even if it's already been done, the way that you are putting your spin on it is still important. And we kind of try to bring that out in people. We primarily work with females in the space. And we just like to work with people that like to work hard and kind of celebrate their wins along the way. So, yeah.
Sounds lovely. Okay. We talked a little bit about scanners, just
yes.
Scanner personality. And you had said you'd never heard of it, which I love to talk to people about this because I am a total scanner and it totally changed my life. I had no idea what a scanner was. and if you haven't listened to the scanner episode, there's an episode where I explain what a scanner is, but it's basically a multi-passionate person. And we've all been put into like, put baby in the corner, right? Because nobody can really understand. Entrepreneurs, lots of entrepreneurs are scanners. And there's really never been like it's not very popular. Let's just say that. Like, it's not a very popular opinion, but it also comes across as very like flighty and flaky. And you can never finish a project. Details aren't your thing. You know, you've had 40 different hobbies in your life. Do you consider yourself a scanner?
I do not consider myself a scanner, but our ideal clients are actually scanners. So
100%.
Cannot, like, as you're saying that, I'm immediately picturing clients in my brain being like, oh, actually, I think those are the only kinds of people that we support in my business. Like I said, because I'm very detailed. And so as long as they've got the vision and they give us some time between jumping to the next thing, we can do that. And so I kind of, when I was reading on your website about that, I was like, I don't think I'm that, but we definitely know some people that are.
Yeah. And it's for me personally, when this like revelation came, and it was a revelation, I had been like basically apologizing for myself all of my life because I always felt like a failure. Like, why can't I keep a corporate job? Why can't I like just stick to one hobby? Why can't I finish one job before I start another job? Why can't I mean, at the time I was literally turning every single hobby I have into a job. Still do.
I have to not do that. I got a Cricut and I'm like, I could make cups. And then I have to remind myself, like, I do this to bring myself joy, not to make money or to make it another thing I have to do. I got a coffee machine and I'm like, I could open a cafe just right here in my kitchen. My husband's like, absolutely
So you've got
not.
A little bit of it. You've got the bug for sure. Yes. You happen to be the one that can like also take it and go with it.
I know, it's hard.
I can too. I have built a number of businesses and like brought my dream to fruition. What I have figured out and learned is the who, not the how. Have you read this book, by the way?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, it's called Who, Not How. You will love it because you're a who person, right? Like you can find people, and if not people, like resources to do things for you that you're not good at.
Yes.
There are people out there that like to do shit that you don't like to do. There are people out there that like to plan events. I like to plan events. I don't want to like find the chairs and the napkins and the invitations and all of that. I don't want to do that, but I will show up at your cool party or I'll show up at my cool party. But I have a manager that loves it. That's her jam. All I have to do is say, this is the party I want. And she runs with it. When I found my who's, everything changed for me. Now my favorite thing to do is like, where can I find more who's to do everything for me?
Because I've always struggled with not really a scanner in that way, but I like to do everything. And part of me is like, if I like to do everything, does that mean I'm not good at one thing? Or like the thing that I'm good at is just that I'm good at a lot of little different things. But I have been time-wise trying to be better about like somebody can do that faster than I can or in a much more efficient way than I can. So whenever it's like taking me a little too long, I have to check myself and be like, do I know somebody that can do this? Instead of me wasting time here, can somebody else do this for me? So,
and that's really about like sticking in your zone of genius, right? Like your zone of genius is really where all the money is.
Yes.
That's my some of my zone of genius is connecting with people. Well, I need to be out connecting with people 1,000% of the time. And so I can't sit here and like make Canva posters.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like I can do it. And I'm really good at it, but that does not mean I should do it. And just because I can figure everything out does not mean I should anymore. And I used to do everything and sort of good, right? Like I could sort of do everything good, but I do certain things really great. And when I figured that out, that's where all the money is. And other people like to do it. It's not shit work to them. Even though it's shit work to me, it's not shit work to them. And so just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. And that is very hard. And when you go out and start hiring people or you're hiring a service or you're hiring, it's very hard to equate well, if they're doing this and they're making money, I could do it for that money. I get it, but like, you can be making double that money if you have support.
Yes. Yeah.
Or triple or quadruple.
Yes. Yeah. And that is something that we focus on so much, is like keeping clients in their zone of genius and only doing what they want to do. We support a lot of coaches. We support a lot of people in the health and fitness industry. And it's when they start to get stuck on like, well, how does this person receive this email at this time? It's like, okay, that is what we do. You don't need to worry about it. It will get there. Let's put you back into just being the client facing person that is getting your clients results. You don't need to worry about the emails on the back end. So yes, that is. And then, I always have to check myself too. Do I really want to schedule out all of these emails, or is this something that somebody else can do a lot quicker and go through it a lot easier than I can? So always.
And there's also something to be said about like, it's okay to not want to do something.
Yes.
We've also been told, well, there's so many things in business you just have to do. Is there? Like, is there stuff you have to do? No.
I was really worried about doing like taxes, but I have an accountant and a bookkeeper that helps with that. Like, I don't have to do that anymore. So
it's also not your job. Like, it's not what you were trained to do. I wasn't trained to be an accountant. I don't want to spend 4 years in school to do my own taxes when I can pay somebody $1,000 a year to do it. It doesn't make sense. But it is sometimes like pulling that stuff out of people, and like, there's a limiting belief that my mom did everything, so therefore I should do everything. Or, somebody has told me like, there's always something that, you can save this much money. And I always think too that sometimes we're looking to the wrong people for opinions.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
it is definitely.
I don't want your life. I don't want to take your opinion. So start taking opinions from people that you want their life, because that's not the person we're looking to give us advice.
Yes.
And this comes down to partners.
Yes. Yeah. There's that saying about like, don't take life advice from somebody that's never lived the life that you want. And that I always think about that when people start to, if you just did this, and it's like, nope, I need to just tunnel vision on what I'm doing because they're not living the life that I want to live. So you just have to focus.
And it's okay. Like, you go ahead and live your life and I will live my life and it will be great. But some of this comes into like partners, right? Like, we ask for advice from our husbands who have never owned a business or have never owned a business that's heart-led, or like don't agree with a heart-led business. And when we start taking advice from that person and they're like, well, you should be able to do that on your own. Why are you spending money on that? No. Like, I get it. I understand. I have a husband too. Rein it in a little bit and like, does it make sense for my business? This is different. And it should be different. Like, that's the whole point.
Yeah. I definitely default to my husband's realism. Like, when I have a bunch of ideas or we're like doing a lot and he's like, realistically, is that and I'm like, it does make me pause and think. But if I'm like, this is what I'm doing, I'm so thankful that he's like, okay, then this is what we're doing.
I totally have a supportive husband.
Yes, it is. It makes such a huge difference because I've worked with clients in the past that do not have that. And it really is such a roadblock. It's hard because it's not my place to be like, get your husband out of your business. But it is hard to be like, well, what do you actually want for yourself? Like, what do you want for your business at the end of the day?
And unfortunately, we haven't really been given that permission to give the permission to ourselves. And that is an uphill battle. And I think once you get there, I just don't ask for permission from people anymore. But it took me, I'm 47 years old. It took me 27 years to get here I just don't apologize anymore. I'm so sorry that you don't feel that way.
I think after moving across the globe, it kind of was like, I don't need to ask anymore. This is just what I have to do. I do like to try to call my mom before I make a big decision, just out of like habit. But otherwise, I'm like, hey, I've done this. This is what we're doing. My husband and I have a pretty good gauge of like, if it's easy, like not everything's easy, but there are expected things. But if there's ever like, we were trying to like get a new car and it was like, people weren't calling us back. Nobody was emailing us. Like, we'd try to set up an appointment and then they change it. And it was just like, it kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed that my husband and I had to be like, okay, this maybe isn't the direction we need to go in. So things like that, like when we're trying to align with a new client and they miss their discovery call or they're like not showing up to things. And it's just like, okay, this maybe not, but like making the decision to move to a new country and my visa got approved and we found a place to live and like all those things kind of aligned the way they needed to, even though it was hard, they still made sense. They still worked out. That's what we always think about. Like,
yeah,
it's so cheesy, but like if it is meant to work out, like in some way, then it will.
Yeah, it's so, I think the older I get too, the more it just like, it works out quicker for me than it did. Like I can just see that this is like the right decision now. I'm also very open to signs and I love energy and that kind of thing. And so I can usually tell pretty quickly if this seems right or if it doesn't seem right. And what am I doing to hold it back?
Yes, I always have to ask, like, never the why is it me? I always try to, it's hard, but that reframe of being like, well, what is the bigger purpose in this happening to me? Or what am I supposed to be taking from this? Or what am I supposed to be learning from this? And I think it all goes back to like making that just a huge decision and feeling like the whole world is against you. Everybody was very supportive, but it was just like an uphill battle to get to where I am now. And instead of being like, oh, well, like you get stuck in the why and you can move forward with the like, what am I supposed to be getting from this? So it's such a small reframe to think that way, but it makes such a huge difference because you're not stuck in the like feeling bad for yourself. You're like trying to work through and figure out why these things are happening in a way that's supposed to benefit you. And that's why even any bad thing that's happened, I'm like, I know it has served a bigger purpose in what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes. You said something about values before, that you're like a very values-based business. And I am as well. And I know my values and I'm very confident in my values, but that also took me a really long time. How much of that is in alignment for you when you are talking to clients, and or are you checking in with your values like on a personal level or a business level? Like, is that something that you have when you hired somebody? Like, how important are values to you?
That was one of the first things I did when I started my business. So there's like an Instagram post from 2019 that is just like, these are our values in Claire Elizabeth Co. And at that time it was like Simply Claire Virtual Services before I even like really had what I had. Because I'm so heart led, like you said, and like very human first, I get taken advantage of a lot. And it used to be worse where I would let people walk all over me. It was because I was looking at it from a place of what are they doing on paper and not who are they values wise. And that just comes from, trial and error, from failing with clients and realizing like, I just was not a good fit because I am led this way. I am not like driven the way that they were. And everybody has their own way of doing things, which is totally fine. But for me, I have to consistently and when I hire, I ask, what are your values? These are ours. How do yours align with what we do on the inside? I do that with people that are on the team. I do that with people that we like contract to. With clients, I kind of ask like, what's important to you? And their like discovery call or on their application on like, what is your big picture vision? What do you see in like 5 years? And I'm always able to tell like, I want to make money. I want to live in a big house. And that's great. But like, what does that mean? Other than that, like what purpose does that serve?
I think that there's so many people also that have no idea what their values are. Like I didn't know my values, and they also change. So I've talked about this 100 different times in 100 different ways, but especially as women, like if you ask 80% of the women in the world right now what their number one value is, I'm guessing that they would say family. Mm-hmm. Is it family? Like, are you making all of your decisions based on your family? And if so, that's scary. We can't do that, right? Like, but maybe your value is connection to your family, right? Like family isn't necessarily, like I understand that everybody wants family to be their number one value, and we can still value family as an institution, but that's not really a value. It's connecting to that, or being really cognizant of how we use our time, or if family is the value, like, are you giving up all of your, meetings so you can get to a softball game? Mm-hmm. I always tell people, like, give me your calendar and give me your bank accounts, and I will tell you your values.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely Yeah, that is so true. Even as like we're doing the back end part of things, and I'm just like, I don't know how you could say your value is this when this is where you're spending all of your time in your business is not on the one thing that you said that you valued. Well, I
Yeah.
went through a really hard health year last year, and it kind of shifted my, like, even going through like burnout a couple of years ago, shifted one of our values to be health and vitality. Just believing that a thriving, healthy business starts with a thriving, healthy founder, and having to, I mean, again, human first, look at what that means for clients and how that impacts them, and looking at health first. And it's making the healthy decision is, taking a call at 6:30 healthy. Well, I went to bed on time. So yes, that was like, it's always like a trade-off, you find what that
Yeah.
means to you. But that is something that when clients are like, this is what I want to do, and they overwork themselves or they're super busy or they're making all these decisions, a little bit of their scanner personalities coming in. And I'm like, is this really the best health wise? Is this going to make you feel good to get all these things done? Or do we need to like refocus a little bit?
And just because health is coveted as a value, what does that even mean? Like, do you know what health even means to you?
Yeah.
Like, health means something different to everybody. And it is not a cookie cutter healthy way to live. Like, that can be 14 different things. So, I mean, for me too, when I take clients, I'm like, that's the first thing I do is like, if you don't know your values, that's what we're doing first. And then we're really going to talk about what that means, because if adventure is one of your values, when are you adventuring?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, tell me where in your schedule adventuring is, or health is, or family is, or whatever. So I love to talk to people, especially other business owners that love values, because I just think it is such a foundational piece, and so many of us are missing it. And once you lay that foundation down, it's just like the sky is the limit. There's just like nothing. If you are aligned, all the perfect clients come to you. All the perfect customers come to you. You start attracting people that match your values. Maybe don't have the same ones, but match at least.
Or have respect for the values that you do have.
Yes. Yeah. Don't have to have the same, but like have the respect. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Claire, it was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun.
This was so great.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah. I'm on Instagram at claire.e.french. And my website is claireelizabeth.co. Nice and simple.
And tell me, if somebody wanted to work with you, what does that look like? Is it like a intake form, discovery call? What does that look like?
Yeah, there's an application form on my website, but in Instagram and my link in bio, there is a link to book a call straight away, just letting me know your name, kind of what you do, and a little bit more about what you are looking for. Or just send me a DM. I know we can send voice memos. I'm very much a talker, so I like sending voice memos in the DMs. And yeah, that's how I like connecting with people. So if any questions or you're just curious, feel free to send a DM.
Okay. And we are going to put all of Claire's information in our show notes too. So thank you for joining us. It's exciting to talk to people in other parts of the world because it's winter here, so summer there.
It is the middle of summer here. It has been very warm.
Okay. Well, it's been very cold here. I know you have this nice little tan on you, and I look like I am literally like the fish belly. So you can tell we are different areas. Yes, thank you so much, Claire. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that is a wrap on today's episode, but the conversation doesn't have to end here. If this episode resonated with you at all, come hang out with us inside Actually We Can. This is my private community for midlife women entrepreneurs who are just done with the hustle and ready to build businesses that actually work for them. Inside, you'll find support and strategy and a whole lot of real talk from women who get it. You can join us at katierip.com/community. We can also stay connected on socials. You can follow me on Instagram at katierip for behind the scenes, extra insights, and plenty of business wisdom. But most importantly, make sure you follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. If you loved today's topic, please leave me a review and share it with another badass woman who needs to hear this. As always, thank you for being here. Now go do your thing, and I'll see you next time.